On this edition of the DNVR Avalanche pregame show, the Avs are actually playing good players, so that should be fun. Maybe the Avs can finally win a preseason game. We'll talk you through it in just a second. Let's start the show. Welcome into the Toyota Lounge, powered by your Front Range Toyota dealerships for the DNVR Avalanche pregame show presented by Coors Light. Make sure you join us all season long. Pregames, watch-alongs, post-games, you name it. We'll be right here. Tonight, the Avs are taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. It's the Avs' fourth preseason game. This one's on national TV. They've got some of the big names in. Does this one matter even a little bit, at least, when it comes to the results? Or is it like every other preseason game?
No, results don't matter. I think it's more the process, right? I mean, it sounds stupid, but it's true. I think if you look at the game in Dallas, game 2, coach was happy with the process, meaning they'd lost the game, but it was a good showing against a veteran, dressed team in Dallas. Now, when you're talking about this one, yeah, the Avalanche probably have the upper hand a little bit tonight, right? With MacKinnon, Makar, Rantanen. I don't think Vegas is icing a very good lineup. When I say very good,
they are not.
Veteran lineup, So, at the end of the day, you want guys to play with some tempo, some pace. Whatever the score is, not important. But at least you got to show and dictate a little bit of leadership and then let the other guys follow. And, like I said, I don't care about the score, but I care about how it plays out.
Okay. I can live with that. With that being said, if it's going to play out, you do at least have some of the Avs' top names to watch here. Mac, Mikko, Makar, all expected to play in this game. You also see some other guys like Kovalenko, it sounds like, is going to get an opportunity. You and Giz were at morning skate and talked about it there, so let's see what you guys had to say this morning. Classic preseason issues.
It's not going great.
Typical video issue. We'll get it to you. Yeah, there you go.
It's morning skate day, and that means it's hockey in the Rockies with Big E and Gizmo. What's going on, everybody? The DNVR Avs fellas here at Morning Skate. Big one tonight. Last preseason home game. The Avs taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. And as expected, pal, they're going to roll out the big boys for this final home game. Those guys have to get reps, no matter what you feel about preseason hockey. The guys want the reps, and it's happening tonight.
Yeah, it's their turn. Last game you had more like the third line that was there as a staple in their lineup. Tonight it's up to basically the first line. Obviously, Kovalenko playing instead of Jonathan Drouin on that spot. I think it's fair. I think it's right. I think the people of Denver, the fans, deserve to have one at least preseason game where you see Makar, MacKinnon, Rantanen, the big boys, Georgiev and net. I'm excited for it. It feels like hockey today. You got the national broadcast on, right? The TNT guys are here, Edzo and Bush and those guys. So feels like a regular season day in Colorado. I'm loving it.
Now, we're not going to see Casey Middlestad in the lineup tonight, and so many questions have existed on that top six. Where is he going to fit in? Will they potentially split up Rantanen and MacKinnon? You probably won't get that tonight, but where do you see that playing out at the start of the year based on the personnel that's going to be in the lineup for Game 1?
Some guys are going to have to win jobs, right? Is it Kovalenko that's going to slide in there? Yeah. Well, he's getting an opportunity tonight with MacKinnon. Obviously, I'm not downplaying Casey Middlestad. I love Casey Middlestad, but I'm saying if he does well, we all know that's Joe Drouin's spot there, kind of. Who knows? I mean, if the lines are going to be split up. I'm a guy that always preaches to split Mikko and Nate. We'll see for the time being because I love them together, but also I do believe that Rantanen with Middlestad would be fantastic. I'm pushing for it if coach is listening. You know what I'm saying?
All right, last one. Obviously, such a focus on the defensive side of things. What do you What do you want to see tonight? What has to happen tonight to maybe fortify what the defense structure is going to look like?
Well, you want to be yourselves, right? And again, there's jobs at stake, whether it's up front or on D, and then you're going to win jobs by being what? By being impeccable on the defensive side of the puck.
Yeah.
Everyone knows, I know he talked about Cal Ritchie the other day about what he can do on the offensive side of things, but, you also talk about the little lapses he had on the defensive side of things, and it's important. You want to be a championship caliber team. You want to aspire to the Stanley Cup. You got to play a 200-foot game. It starts in training camp. There's no babysitting in the NHL, so guys have to be ready to put the boots on, to work on. The Polands, the Steinbergs, be what you are. Do what you do best. Go win a job, and what a better opportunity than you have in front of you tonight.
Puck drops tonight at 7:30 at Ball Arena. The Vegas Golden Knights in town. It is a national game, so you can catch it on national TV if you're not coming to the game. And if you're really looking for a fun option and not coming to the game and you want to watch it, head to the DNVR bar on Colfax. Rudo and E will be doing a watch party. We'll have a post-game pod for you, and of course, complete coverage from the game tonight. The final preseason home game of the exhibition season, and it should be a good one. That's it for Hockey in the Rockies morning skate edition. Big E and Gizmo saying we'll see you a little bit later.
All right, so I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper on that. You were talking about Poland and some of those guys putting their boots on and having to go to work. What's the mindset like if you're Jason Poland going into this game? You maybe didn't have the best preseason game last one. You're more established as a bottom six role in a game like this with the big guns in the lineup. What should he be targeting to do in a preseason game like this?
I think here's what I'm going to say. You and me were talking about it the other night a little bit, and it's, again, I'm not using that stupid line that I say with AJ all the time about violence. It's not about violence. So you're using Jason Poland, for example. Here's a good example. Now tonight, the top line are there, whatever. At some point in the game, hockey is a game of momentum. If you're not gaining momentum, you're not having the momentum, like last game, after the first period, everything dropped. No plays were done. I'm not talking about fighting. I'm talking about a big hit, a big momentum shift, which so many times the line of O'Connor, Colton, and Wood did last year. You change games around. Those big guys have the pressure to put goals on the board and to produce. But at some point, when you're not asked to produce, like a guy like Poland, if he's going to be ever an NHL player, he's not going to be asked to produce. But you're going to be asked to play your game the right way, whether it's 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, and you're going to be asked to all of a sudden create some momentum, create a little pace, and then all of a sudden the game changes. Right? It could be a big hit. It could be a fight. Whatever it is, I'm not saying anything. Drawing a penalty, right, off of being a pest or being something. So those guys on games like tonight, like I say all the time, it's an exhibition game, it's a preseason game, and for Nate, for Mikko, guys like that, it doesn't really matter. It's just about them. Like I say, that's why I don't care about the final score, but you care about them getting their groove back, getting the feel for the puck back, making plays, getting your brain involved in the game. But if you're a guy like Poland and those guys, it's more important because you're getting judged on, is he going to start the season here, or is this guy going to be going in the minors, or what kind of an impression are you leaving here before going to Loveland? And when injuries occur, we all know it's going to occur at some point, knock on wood, but it's life in the NHL. Are you a guy that they're like, oh yeah, we trust him enough to come up? So those guys are playing for their lives, their jobs, so that's why it's important tonight about the process, like I said earlier in the show.
So let me ask you this. Is tonight's preseason game more important for someone like Jason Poland or more important for someone like Nikolai Kovalenko?
You know what? Just as important for both. We all know that Kovalenko could be a guy that's going to be a top six option, right? With the absence of, Lecky.
At least for the first couple games, yeah.
92, 13, all those guys. So he's a guy, he's older, played in the KHL. He can complement those top six guys. So, yeah. So tonight he's with MacKinnon instead of, the Druin spot. But at the end of the day, we all know that MacKinnon right now got no wings. The helicopter line, right? There's no wings. So he's by himself in a sense. No offense to anybody, but it's jobs to be won. And I think Kovalenko tonight does a good showing. Then I bet you next game you see him in a spot on the left side with Casey. You know what I mean? Like to show that he can do it. So, yeah, it's important for him to show and be himself. You can't change your game. You got to be yourself. And I think Bednar talked about that. He's got to go out there and be himself. It's not because you're playing with Nate MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen that all of a sudden you think you're, I don't know, Alex Tanguay. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Just be
Just be Nikolai Kovalenko.
That's what you are. You know what I mean? So, but I think for Poland, it's the same thing. It's important. You know, he's going to be on the lower end of the totem pole here in the lineup. But it's like, go do what you're supposed to do for those 7, 8, 9 minutes. Is it a PK job you're trying to win as well? Right? I mean, they've been using Steinberg, guys like that. It's you got to show that you can bring something at the National Hockey League level, and that's why those games are there.
This is kind of off topic. I wasn't going to ask this, but we're watching this Rangers game on the side here with a million penalties in it.
I know.
Are we going to see this start to tighten up? The Avs are over halfway through their preseason now. It feels like every game has been super choppy with whistles. Do we expect both the players to tighten up and take less penalties, but also the refs to kind of start getting into in-season form here?
Yeah, and again, I think you're trigger happy, right? I mean, a little bit. You haven't blown the whistle all summer. And we love referees, you know that. I mean, we love
Speak
Jackson.
for yourself.
Those guys, I do. I respect them, and
they
have a tough job.
Jax is cool. He's not a ref anymore. He's an analyst now.
That's fine. But yeah, I mean, you haven't blown the whistle all summer. You haven't been around. For them, it's the same thing, right? It's a lot of situational stuff. Where do they put themselves to see the play develop, to see where they can call a penalty? So it's a fast game. It's hard. Your brain hasn't been into it for a few months. Those guys need to get in there, and I think that's why you always see in preseason a lot more penalties. And again, you're right. It kind of stinks for the flow of the game. Stinks for the players that are not killing or not playing PP. Man, it's a long night. And but at the end of the day, I think you're going to see here a little bit more realistic hockey coming down those last few games. I think we'll have a decent time here with a game like tonight.
I hope there's a little more flow. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah, it's tough.
Let's get into your 3 keys, which I'm sure talk about the Avs finding the rhythm a little bit today.
Yeah, for me, it's very simple. The first one, let the big dogs eat, right? We haven't seen those guys. We haven't seen Kale. We haven't seen Mikko. We haven't seen Nate. I think it's important tonight they get into the rhythm, get the rhythm going, toss the biscuit around, feel good about yourself. If there is, like you said, a lot of penalties, get the power play clicking a little bit, get it going a little bit. I know you work at it in practice, never the same thing as if you're doing it in an opposition jersey, Number 2, for sale sign, that's what we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
Jobs to be bought. You gotta be a buyer if you're Poland, if you're those guys. If
are
you're
you a buyer or are you a worker to get that job?
Whatever, same thing. You got to go out and buy it. You know what I mean? You got to be a junkyard dog. Get out there and do what you do best. And we just talked about it. Bring something to the table. You can't just blend in.
Yep,
you can't just blend in. Mikko, Nate, they can. I'm not telling you it's okay. I hope they don't,
but yeah.
I hope they don't. I think it's important for the people of Denver to see the superstars play. This is the last home game. Very important, very classy of the team to put those guys out there because, quite frankly, they need to get out there too and get their rhythm back. So bring something to the table. Number 3, I think it's important for Georgiev. 60-minute in the cage, not a 30-minute game.
Yep.
Get out there, get a full game, feel good about your game, control your movements, control your emotions. Just kind of get back into the rhythm of things. It's not easy to be a goalie in the NHL, and I gotta be honest with you, they sweat so much, those guys. It's kind of crazy, and it sounds stupid, but it's so different than getting shots for an hour and a half of practice. This is warm up. Get in the locker room, wait another 18 minutes. Your body just sweats, you get dehydrated. Then it's first period, then it's a Zamboni. Second period, Zamboni. Third period. It's a long 2.5, 3 hours when you put everything together. Your body has to get adjusted to that, especially here at altitude. So very important for goalies to play 60 minutes in preseason to get themselves ready to go. So I think it's a good test for him tonight. Again, like I said, I don't care about the outcome. It's about him feeling good, no different than Mac and Kale and Mikko. It's about feeling good, about controlling your movements, and go from there.
Is there any fear with the Stars playing a preseason game? I don't want to put any bad juju into the world, but already this preseason, we've seen Doughty go down. We saw Kirby Dach go down today. There's been a handful of other injuries that are Line A. I'm forgetting a couple other names, but is it a little spooky seeing all these dudes get hurt in preseason?
I know. Unfortunately, it's like your body is not used to you get your body ready, right, by working out, but it's not used to the contacts, not used to the weird movements, and it's been a few months since you've done it, so that's why you see a lot of injuries in preseason. But at the end of the day, you got to get involved. You got to get in there at some point. The Avs are smart. There's only 6 preseason games now, and you know those guys are going to probably maybe 2, right? I'm talking about the top guys.
I would say 2 max.
2
for
max.
Sure.
So you're not playing with fire. It is what it is. If not, then it happens on the first week of the season or whatever it is. So at some point, you're right. There's no juju. We're good. You know what I mean? We're not wishing anybody anything, but it's life, right? You got to get out there and you got to get in the rhythm and knock on wood that you get hurt on a meaningless game.
Is there not a little bit of concern? You said it. Vegas's lineup, not super NHL caliber in this one. If the Avs go out there, if their stars play pretty well, do you consider maybe rolling them over the boards a little bit less later on in this game against some guys that might be trying to prove something for Vegas?
I agree. I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see Nate play 28 minutes tonight. You know what I mean? I think it's more, again, you never know. They take 8, 9 penalties, and then there's power play.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they got to play 28 minutes, but it's like those guys want to get out there, right? That's where they make their dough. That's where they make hay, right, during the season. So, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, it is situational to the game, and like you said, it's not. They don't have anything to prove. I think it's just it's selfish, right? Your games are selfish. It's for you to feel better. It's for you to get into the rhythm. Like I said, no different than a referee. Your brain back into game mentality, back into assignments in your own end, assignments on faceoffs, and that's no different if you're Mikko or if you're Steinberg, right? You got to get yourself back in it and. Coach Bednar is smart. He's not going to overtax those guys. And again, it's a meaningless. That's why I say that the score doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Like I said, I didn't even realize that they're 0-3. Honestly, I had no idea until someone said it today, and I was like, honestly, I have no idea.
Technically have lost their last 7 in a row, if you include the rookie tournament and the end of last season.
Oh, boy. We're in trouble.
With that being said, Dallas has yet to lose a preseason game, and if you've been following the Avs for 8, 9, 10 years, you know that means literally nothing. Avs went undefeated in the preseason once.
Yeah, it didn't go well.
Did not end so well. Did not end so well. He looks ready. He looks fired up. Kale looks ready to go. I want to get into Kale and MacKinnon and Mikko. The reality is they live in a different world than these guys trying to earn jobs. You kind of mentioned it earlier. So realistically, what are your expectations of the big guns tonight?
Realistically, I just want them to feel good about their game. I just said it a couple minutes ago. I want Kale to feel good, to dance out there a little bit, right? As he, when he grabs the puck and he's got the 10-2 going with the hips and, the head fakes. And then I want him to lose a couple guys in the offensive zone, he catches a guy looking away, falling asleep, head down, gone, right? I want him to be good on his outs. I want him to be good on the power play, right? I want him to feel good about his game, like I said, selfishly, tonight after the game and say, okay, all right, it went well. And again, those guys are hard on their games. You know that. Then they're going to be like, oh, I stunk. And, but it's more a question of feeling. Mikko, I want him to rifle a few from the right circle, right on the PP. You and I love it when he shoots the puck from there, and not so much the chip shot. It is what it is, and that's yours.
A little less cute. A little less cute, please.
So
yes.
You want Mac to get going right on the neutral zone and fly through the zone and feel good about the tack, you know what I mean, like and then
chopping it up a
little bit. So, I mean, that's what I'm looking for from most guys.
So not worried about production at all?
No, I don't care. I mean, again, you should. I'll say, if you look at the lineup, you're like,
they should put a couple in the back of the net.
Should have 5 points tonight if you're mad. I mean, the guy got 140 points. Yeah.
When they played Dallas, Sagan, and Duchesne were scoring a bunch of points with the Avs AHL lineup.
Yeah, exactly. So. I mean, so I don't put a lot of stock in it. So if Matt gets 5 points, then I'll be like, all right, it was a bad lineup.
About it,
that's what I'm saying. And then if he gets 0, I'll be like, okay, it was just a preseason game. So for me, I don't, again, I just want, for me, it's always about those guys. And I think a good coach will always see, you see that a little less now, where back then we had about 10 preseason games. And then, a good coach would go and say, hey, Rudo, how many, you're a star. How many you want to play? How about you play this one, that one, that one? Okay, great. Deal. Done deal, right? That's how they used to do it with Joe back then. It's not like you're going to be like, you're going to bother him and say, oh, you're going to St. Louis tomorrow. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, boy, are you kidding me? You got to be on the same page with those guys. So I think this has been talked about all summer. They knew exactly when they were playing. They knew exactly what they were doing. And, I think tonight it's just very important for them to feel good about it. But you also want to lead a little bit, right? Like you said, Kovalenko, all that guy. You want to make sure you steer them the right way. You don't want to just sit on the bench if you're Mikko and you're Nate and you don't talk to Kovalenko. You don't tell him anything. I don't see that. I'm just saying. I'm just stating that as an example.
Sure.
You want to be involved in the game. That's what I mean. That's what leadership is. And the same thing for Kale. Who's he playing with tonight? Is it Barons or something like that?
It looks like it's going to be Barons.
Yeah. Awesome. What an opportunity for Sean Barons to play with Kale McCarr. Are you serious? You're talking about 60 minutes of hockey. So we're talking about 3 hours talking with him in the locker room, on the bench, on the ice, before a face-off. It's invaluable for the development of a player. And I think you brought up Kovalenko earlier. I think it's important. It's a totally different setting than last year coming in the playoffs, right?
Yep.
This is totally different. And now you get MacKinnon a little more relaxed maybe on trying to show you different things.
Yep.
Where we all know Nate can be a little uptight at times, you know what I mean? This is a setting where you're not going to be uptight today. You
I
know
hope
what I mean?
not.
So I think it's important for them to show some leadership, to show some. I mean, even Mikko with Inola, right? He's a fellow countryman. That's a little bit older, but looks like he might get some time on the power play with him. At the end of the day, go and teach a little bit. It's not always. I always tell you guys, it's not just the coaches. Pressure from your peers is more important than pressure from coaches. You know what I mean? And sometimes the message gets through a little easier with players than coaches. So I think that's what this game's all about today. And I think I'm looking forward to it because it's kind of fun to see, again, we say it all the time, 3 of the top 10 players in the National Hockey League playing.
Yeah, pretty good.
Lucky tonight for a preseason game. I think it's awesome.
I know you kind of already mentioned Georgiev, but I just want to go back to that.
Yep.
Makar, Tahan, Brandstrom, Rosen, and then Ashan and Barons all in the lineup tonight. It's not a full NHL defense, but it's, a defense that you can say is at least adjacent to NHL caliber. Does that put a little bit more on the goalie tonight? Because I would say so far through preseason, we really haven't put much stock in Avs goaltending just because of what was in front of them. So is there maybe at least a little bit of expectation for Georgiev then?
Well, I always say if I'm a goalie, again, I'm not a goalie, but if you're going to go in a lineup like that tonight, I mean, let's just be honest, it's favorable to the Avs, right? Like you said.
Yeah.
I think you should put pressure on yourself. Like I said, I don't care about the outcome for you. I want them to take it where it's 60 minutes, and goalies break it down. They break it down. Usually everybody's different, but by 5-minute increments and all that kind of stuff, right? Mental game, be ready. Okay, shorthanded. How am I going to do tonight shorthanded? I really want to work on my position on when the puck's on the right side. How do I want to go about it? And they talk with the goalie coach about all that kind of stuff. So get your mind back into the game. Get your mind into the flow of a game. But you're right. Then put a little bit of pressure on yourself and say, you know what? I'm not giving up more than 2 tonight. You know what I mean? I'm just not doing it. You know what I mean? And again, kind of contradicting myself a little bit because I'm saying I don't care about the outcome of the final score, but pressure yourself and see what happens at the end. And, we'll never know what he's pressuring himself with, but maybe it's a 0, maybe it's a 1, right? Something like that. Challenge yourself. Have some goals that are short-term goals. Maybe attain them throughout the night tonight.
It's weird, right? Because you're right. You don't care about the final score of the game, really. But when it comes to goaltending, their play directly is involved with what this number on the scoreboard is.
He could feel great tonight, and then you give up 7. And you're like, what the hell happened? There was 3 deflection off skates. There was one blooper. You're on your way back to the bench, and it's like on a, whatever, on a delayed
a bunch
call,
of nonsense,
and then the puck goes. I mean, that's what I mean. And then you're like, oh, my God, so weird. I felt so good. And then the result was disastrous. Coaches will be like, no, you stunk. You know what I mean? But that's where the goalie coaches come in and defend the goaltenders and, go from there. But, it'll be interesting to see.
We'll see. I mean,
I don't even know who's in net for Vegas. I didn't even look like.
I'd have to double check. Yeah,
I don't remember.
I only have the Avs lineup in front of me.
I think it was, I don't know. I don't think it was Hill or anything like that. So,
all right.
Who knows?
Am I reading too much into some of these things when I look at a Kovalenko next to a MacKinnon? When I look at Poland on the wing next to Belmar and Wood? Are these signs that these guys might be earning these types of roles in the Avalanche lineup, or is this just these are the guys that are in tonight?
No, I think there's a meat, right? Let's put it this way. I think in the drawer, like 4 weeks ago, pretty much the first lineup was in there.
Yep.
You know, and I think by game 2, it's like, 90% was in there.
Yep.
I would tell you that today, probably the top end guys were inserted in there. Then it's like, we'll play by ear, see where we're at.
Yep.
Right? So I think that you're not reading too much into it, but I think it's also by merit. Bednar talked about it this morning. We didn't play the presser here, but because it's long, but it's on, go see it on Twitter, DNVR Avalanche. But he was talking about Kovalenko, saying, he's pretty quiet the first night. And again, it's hard because you can't have a quiet night when you're trying to buy a job, right?
Of course.
Right? And it's like, and then he was outstanding game 2. And now it's like, okay, out of merit, let's put him on the left side today because we want to see what he can do, right? With top end guys. So I think it's based on merit. So this one, then you're right. Poland, Steinberg, trying to kill penalties. Belmar, right? Do you fit well, Poland with Belmar? Can you be an effective fourth line player in this league? Because you're not going to be a first line player. No offense to that, and I'm not making fun of Jason Poland. I had the same speech. You know that. Crow said it on the show. Like, at the end of the day, you got to figure out what you are, what you bring to the table. So I think a guy like Poland tonight, he is playing for a job. He is. It's important. It's important. I think Bednar talked about it today too, and he said it. Can't carry everyone. Our schedule's a little weird, a little tricky, but at the end of the day, we have to get down to our numbers. So I think a lot of players tonight are, they might not be here tomorrow. You know what I mean? If all of a sudden, but if you're impressed enough, you get yourself another chance too, because I don't want to hear, the team's already made. No, the team's not made. There's a lot of holes right now. There's a lot of holes to be had, and I think if you're given the opportunity to go and, I called it on the pregame keys, like buy a job, like, oh my God, it's better than not being in the lineup and not being able to show what you can do to go get that job.
Yeah. I fully expect some cuts to come in after tonight's game yet again. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's get into our bets with Bet365 because, yes, you can even get your bets in preseason when it comes to Bet365. Didn't do anything too complicated with these. Eric mentioned the lineup disparity. You can get the Avs to cover at -120. When you got MacKinnon and Rantanen and Makar in there against a bunch of guys, take the Avs. It's not that complicated. I expect some scoring from the big gun, so I took the over as well at 5.5 goals. And to get a little bit of a plus bet in there, I took Vegas to score first. You know how much the Avs love to come back over the last couple of years. So
old habits die hard.
Yeah, why not do it again in preseason just for fun? Why not? Jump on with it. Make sure you get your bets in with Bet365, whether it be preseason, regular season, hockey, basketball, whatever. You name it. You can bet on it with Bet365 and use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Of course, when you do gamble with Bet365, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado, and if you or someone that you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. Any final thoughts, E, on this preseason pregame?
Well, like I said, I think tonight it feels a little more real than the other couple games, right? Why? Because it's a real broadcast tonight. Not that it's not on altitude and, Kyle, those guys.
Well, the realest thing about it is this puck drop's about to get delayed because there's 8 minutes left in this Rangers game.
I wonder if they're going to delay it.
They might just drop it anyway.
They might drop it. I think they're yelling at the ringer now, drop it. But, I think it feels more real, felt more real today. You know what I mean? You go to the rink, it's a little more buzz, and then it's been quiet right at those morning skates. And I think today felt more real because it is a national game, and we all know the Avs are going to play a ton of national games this year. Why? Because they are entertaining, they are a great product, and they are great for fans because they are electric. So I'm expecting those 3 guys to be electric tonight. I want them to lead by example. Again, if they go out there and they're awesome and they get 0 points, I don't really care.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
I just want them to feel good about their game, and I think it's important to get their legs from underneath them tonight, and it starts in net with Georgievs, like we talked about. Just want to make sure the big guys feel good about themselves, and then guys go get jobs.
Yep.
Go get jobs.
All right, we're going to wrap up this pregame show. Make sure you wrap up this way. Cracking a Coors Light and joining us for the watch-along. We'll be live in about 5 minutes here, which may end up being a watch-along for the end of the Rangers game. We'll see how that goes on TNT. But be sure to jump over to that YouTube link, same channel, different video. We'll see you there in a couple of minutes, and you can find us, if not for the watch-along, at least for the post-game. We'll talk to you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.